Behold, in all of its glory, its mighty face, its large size, its absolutely epic and engaging body. One Mon and one Body Slam will absolutely wreck you and your entire Kanto Cup. Okay, I'm done. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Okay, welcome to Snorlax. Hey guys, Kanto Cup here. Welcome to Snorlax. Snorlax is one of the most popular Pokemon of all time. It's adorable, it's cute, and it's mostly known for eating an obscene amount of food, which I am a huge foodie myself, so I love Snorlax. Snorlax is one of the most interesting and actually one of the most powerful Pokemon in all of Go Battle League, and it's particularly good for the Kanto Cup. For those of you that do know, well, most of you do know how good Snorlax is. It's one of the best Mons across literally all 3 leagues, and it's no different for Great League. In Great League, Snorlax is one of the thickest boys in the land, or thickest ladies, whichever one you have, because yes, Snorlax can actually be female. So, whichever one you have, Snorlax is incredibly bulky, thick, and powerful for the Kanto Cup. As you see, its only weakness is fighting. With the absence of fighter, you can still see Machamps in this meta, however, you might not see as many as you think just because Hypno and Alola Marowak will be running around. Because of that, Snorlax is pretty safe in this meta, and it double resists Ghost. So that means Shadow Balls, Shadow Bones from Alola Marowak isn't going to do a thing, and everything else is neutral. Because like I said, because of that, Snorlax is incredibly powerful. Not only that, Snorlax has such a versatile moveset. It has Lick, it has Hyper Beam, Skull Bash, Outrage, Earthquake, Heavy Slam, Body Slam. It's so powerful. It's super good for this meta, and it's really, really good in Go Battle League in general. Now, you probably, because it's been quite a while, you likely already have a Snorlax for Great League. If you do, that's great. You might want to consider using him for the Kanto Cup. If you don't have one, it's kind of hard to get otherwise, because you can see them in raids, but if you look over here, it's a minimum of 1760 and 1843, which means you can't actually get a Snorlax from raids to use in Great League. You can hatch a well, not even a Munchlax either, to be honest with you, because if you hatch a Munchlax and you evolve into a Snorlax, as you see right here, the minimum is 1760, so you can't get one for Great League. Like I said, you likely already have one of these for Great League anyways, so if you want to use it for the Kanto Cup, it's extremely powerful. Great thick move stat pool, as well as a great inversal move pool. Snorlax is one of the most powerful things, and who knows when its shine will be out. But when it does, look at it. It's really cute, it's really pretty, and especially for the Kanto Cup, it will serve you very well. Alright, so here are the Kanto Cup ratings, and if you look, a recent update to the rankings and the trading sims actually put Snorlax at number 3. Wait, what? Yes, Snorlax and its respective shadow cousin is actually in the top 5 of the Kanto Cup ratings. Now, as you see, Snorlax is insanely powerful in all positions. Look at how good it is. You beat Alola Marowak, you beat Hypno. These two are big for this league. You also beat Alolan Sandslash, you even beat Dugong and Gengar. Now, you do lose against some picks, for example, Charmers in particular. You lose against Dragonair. Of course, remember we talked about Shadow Machamp, and you have Lapras. Ironically, you beat Dugong, but you'll lose against Lapras. However, as you see, it's very strong in all positions, particularly as a switch. But Snorlax, regardless of how it is, it's still really good. Like, you'll see in the Matrix just how powerful it is against the overall meta. In the lead, Snorlax ranks at number 4. Now, as you see, you beat the same things as we saw before. However, you want Lick and Body Slam and Superpower. Body Slam chunks and Superpower threatens those Pokemon that are weak, like for Dugong and also Lapras. And Body Slam's almost like a staple because you get stab, so you get same type attack bonus, as well as it's one of the fastest moves in the game. And with Snorlax, it's actually one of the spammiest. In the closer, Snorlax ranks at number 8. Number 4 for its shadow cousin. So it's still as you said, it's still very good. You beat Hypno, Marowak, Lapras, Alone Sashash. This is where you'll beat Lapras in the closer just because you're able to superpower it to death. However, you do lose against things like some Charmers, Galamauk, you have Dragonair, also Raichu. Now as a switch, like I said, Snorlax is the number 2 switch in the game, which is pretty nuts. Of course, Hypno is going to be up top. However, Shadow Snorlax actually takes out Hypno. It takes out Hypno, it takes out Marowak, it takes out Wigglytuff. Now here's what sucks about being a safe switch. If you get switched into Machamp, it's going to kill you really hard. So just make sure if you do switch into it, that you're aware that, okay, Machamp might come out and pretty much wreck your night. So just be prepared for that. Other than that, like I said, Snorlax is extremely powerful, very strong. As you see, Shadow Snorlax ranks at number 3. There is a difference between the Shadow and the regular version, so we're going to explore both versions for this analysis. I'm going to put the regular one and the Shadow one together. You want Body Slam Superpower, you can have other movesets. However, Body Slam and Superpower gives you that coverage against a lot of the meta. Plus, a lot of times you're just going to Body Slam a lot of things to death anyways. You won't really need... You're pretty much only gonna use superpower unless the superpower is going like I said, if it's an ice type, you punch it to death. If it's a steel ice type, then you super punch it, use superpower to death. But that's why you want Snorlax with superpower and for body slam. Alright, so here we have Snorlax and Shadow Snorlax. So I'm not gonna deviate from the moveset. You can use different movesets for this meta. However, I recommend Body Slam Superpower because Superpower gets there pretty quickly. And it's going to allow you to cover a lot of things. Like I said, normally you're just going to body slam everything to death anyways. You can use different movesets. Like I said, you can use Skull Bash. You can use Outrage as well. You can pretty much manipulate it like you pretend you have Outrage or Earthquake and then you can fire it. However, it's going to be pretty straightforward with Snorlax because it's not Open Great League. You're pretty much going to body slam most of the time anyways. Now, the thing about Snorlax is that in the Great League, it's actually a lot different than Ultra or Master League because Snorlax in Ultra or Master League is a lot thicker than the Great League mon, so it's a lot bulkier. So even Snorlax is bulky in the Great League. However, because of this issue, as you see here in the 2-shield, here's the 2-shield, here's the Kanto meta in the right. If you do run the sim, as you see here, you do lose against Wigglytuff. The reason you do lose is because, like how I mentioned, it's not as thick as it is in the Great League. So you're going to lose in every shield scenario just because you're able to get charmed down. That's how oppressive Charmers are against Snorlax. And along with the fact that Wigglytuff does resist your licks, so it puts you in the bad spot to begin with. Along with that, if you look at Clefable does pretty much the same thing. They're able to charm you down. So just be really careful. You can win in Clefable, you can win in the 1-0s because you're actually able to get a body slam in. And as you see here, double body slam kills. However, be careful because Charmers have a very strong rating against you. Along with that, remember how I mentioned Snorlax isn't as thick as other ones. If you face the Dragon Breath Zard, you win. If you face the Fire Spin Zard, you lose. Now, this is a bait-dependent matchup. If they land the Blast Burn, they're done. However, if you're able to land your body slams, you should be okay. But like I said, just be really careful because in the 2-shield, there's a lot of things that are very strong in the 2-shield compared to Snorlax, but you still are very strong against a lot of picks. As you see, even though Dugong and the Charmers do kill you, Dragon Breath users as well, you still have some strong matchups. You're able to beat Haunter, you're also able to beat Hypno and Lapras. Now with the Lapras matchup, it's a little dicey because you kind of have to body slam. So here's the double bait, and then you superpower for the W. So if they block the superpower instead of your body slam, it can be a little risky, so just keep that in mind. Now, of course, you want to avoid Shadow Champ at all costs. You do not want to get hit by Shadow Champ. Shadow Champ, arguably, is the worst. It has the best matchup in Great League, because if you see here, Snorlax, because it's not so thick, literally, it can counter you down. So counter breaks your shields, cross shot breaks your shields, and then just literally just counters you to death. You only win if you're up in the 1-0s or 2-0, so it's really dangerous. Now, another thing is Alolan Muck. Alolan Muck has a very strong matchup against you as well, just because it does resist your lick. As you see here, you only win in the 1s, you only win the 1s, or if you have shield advantage. So just keep that in mind. You have to be very careful. You lose all even shield scenarios except the 1s, but you beat it in every other case. So that's the thing about Snorlax. I wouldn't personally... You can lead with Snorlax. I wouldn't personally lead with it. I would use it as a switch or a closer because that's where it's... I think it's much more dominant in the switch or closer than the lead. As you see here, you do lose against a lot of picks because, like I said, the Great League Snorlax variant isn't as thick as Ultra or Master League. So because of that, you do get destroyed by a lot of things like Charmers, and Shadow Victory Bell just runs you down. As you see over here, you only win in the 1-0s, in the 1s or 2s. Now, things change in the 1 shield. So the 2 shield's a little dangerous. However, if you go to the 1 shield, here's what happens. If you go to the 1 shield, you start beating a lot of things. You take out Beedrill, you take out Dugong. You still lose against Charizard or Articuno and all Dragon Breath users because it's still impressive. However, you start beating Golbat, you beat Alolan Graveler, Haunter, you beat Hypno, and you also beat Magneton, Alolan Marowak. So just be careful with Snorlax because with Snorlax you beat Alolan Marowak. However, you do lose. You do lose like. In the 1s and the 2s, it's not super dangerous. However, if you look over here, if you look really quick, like those aren't strong ratings in the 1 or 2, so just be mindful. Other than that, you beat it pretty convincingly. Just be careful. Like I said, just be a little careful when it comes in the 1s and the 2s. But you destroy you beat Alolan Marowak pretty handily. That's what's good. You also beat Hypno really handily. So in the ones things start changing. You also beat Alolan Muck in the 1 shield. You bait, and then I think you just... Can you straight body slam? Yeah, you just straight body slam. So in the 1 shield, you just bait straight body slam. So you know you'll beat... You'll beat Alolan Muck in the 1s. Just be careful every other scenario, because you can lose. You also you also beat Alolan... pretty much a lot... You pretty much beat every Alolan except Alolan Raticate. You also beat Alolan Muck. You also beat Alolan Graveler. Now, this one's super power dependent, so just be careful if you do see a random Alolan Graveler. Just know that you have to super power for the W. Of course, you're going to go neutral against other Snorlax. Venusaur just wrecks your soul just because Vine Whip and Frenzy Plant charge so fast. And, of course, Shadow Victory Bell wrecks your soul. Remember, we already talked about Charmers. Charmers are very strong against you, so is Shadow Victory Bell. Be very careful because you only win up one in the 1-0. So in the 1-0s or 2-0, that's the only way you win. Now in the closer, things get really interesting. Like I said, Snorlax is much more powerful in the 1 shield than the 2 shield. And in a closer, it's also very strong as well. You beat Articuno. You lose against Beedrill, Charizard, Dugong, Dragonair. You are very strong against the immediate meta. For example, you beat Shadow Dragonite. You beat Haunter, Hypno. You beat Lapras. You also beat Alolan Marowak, Muck, and Mew. So you beat a lot of top picks with Snorlax. However, it's a little difficult to play just because of the fact that it is a little weaker in Great League compared to Ultra and Master League. And there are certain scenarios that Snorlax will win, and of course Snorlax will lose. So in the 1 shield, Snorlax is arguably the strongest, and like I said, in the closer, it's not that great. You do beat a lot of picks, but like I said, the thing about Snorlax in the 0s is that it's really good against the top meta, like Alolan Marowak, Hypno, etc., and against Lapras. However, with all the other matchups, you have to be careful because you have to really know which shield scenarios you win and which shield scenarios you lose. Because as you see here, 1-0s and the 2-0s is where Snorlax shines. Now, when Snorlax is up a shield, an example, the 1-0s, it's very powerful. You beat the entire meta except Wigglytuff. So you only beat Wigglytuff in the 2-0s. However, in the 1-0s, you beat everything with the regular Snorlax. Shadow Snorlax dies just because of Dynamic Punch and Ice Punch, etc. So, as you see, Shadow doesn't make too much of a difference versus regular. However, Shadow or regular Snorlax, depending on which one you pick, does flip matchups. We'll go over that soon. In the 2-0s, you destroy the entire meta. So, up 2 shields, you destroy the entire meta except for Wigglytuff. You only beat Wigglytuff if you have the Shadow variation. Other than that, Wigglytuff will beat you in all scenarios. You do not beat Wigglytuff just because it can charm you down. If you have a little bit of damage on Wigglytuff, then you could probably end it with a Body Slam, but that's the only scenario. Things also get dicey in the 2-1s. As you see in the 2-1s, you start losing matchups. With shield advantage, you still beat a majority of the meta. However, you lose against Shadow Victory Bell and against Clefable. So just keep in mind, you start losing against the really hard, fast-hitting, fast-move attackers, even though you're up in the shields in the 2-1s. However, that still means Snorlax is still really, really powerful and really, really good. Now, the thing about Snorlax, as you see here, like I said, Shadow doesn't, the regular version is actually stronger than the Shadow version. As far as Snorlax goes, I would give Snorlax I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I give it a 7 out of 10 just because Charmers and Shadow Victory Bell do chunk at it, and like I said, you pretty much, you have very, you are very weak against Charmers and Shadow Vic.
Along with that, Snorlax is kind of tricky to play outside of the 2s and the 1s. Just because, like I mentioned, and I say this a lot, but then really, like, Snorlax is much more powerful in Ultra and Master League. In Great League, it's still very thick and very powerful. However, you saw in the Shield scenarios how you need to really know your stuff when it comes to Snorlax. In the 2 Shield, Snorlax doesn't do too hot, but when you start getting to the 1s, the 0s, or if you do have Shield advantage, Snorlax is incredibly powerful. And the good thing is you likely already have a Snorlax ready for Great League. Now, the thing about Shadow versus regular version, you don't need to use the Shadow version for regular Great League. You can. It's not necessary. It's still really good, but like as you see here, there's not too many things that flip. You beat Charizard with the Shadow version. You beat this is the 1 shield. You beat Alolan Graveler with the 1 shield. You beat Hypno in the 1s. As you see, it's really weird. What I would recommend is that you bring the regular one. If you have the Shadow one, that works too. However, be aware that Shadow and the normal Snorlax do have matchups that flip depending on which shield scenario you're at. So, the reason I give it a 7 out of 10 is because Snorlax actually has great coverage. It's very strong against the top meta picks, such as Alolan Marowak and Hypno and Mew. Very strong against the Psychics just because of Lick. And Body Slam is such a spammy and powerful move. However, Snorlax's limitations are that Snorlax is a little difficult to play because outside of the 2s and the 1s, after that you're going to have to get really fancy. You also flip matchups depending if you are in the 2 shield versus the 1 shield. So you have to really know your stuff with Snorlax. Great Generalist, very, very powerful. However, like I said, you kind of need to know your stuff with Snorlax. That's what makes it a little bit of a con. Along with that, Snorlax, like I said, is much more powerful in Ultra and Master League. Snorlax is also, like I said, you could use different movesets for Snorlax. I do recommend Body Slam and Superpower just because Superpower gives you the chance to take down those Steel or Rock types if you're able to hit it with a Superpower. Also, like I said, Snorlax's best position is in a switch, so then you can use, you're basically able to, if you win the switch with Snorlax, you could Superpower and pivot depending on what you face. Anyways, 7 out of 10. Snorlax is very good for the Kanto Cup. I'd really consider it because as long as you're able to avoid Charmers, Shadow, Victory Bell, and Machamps, you could do really well with Snorlax because Snorlax is very powerful against top picks, especially against like Psychic types, and against some top anti-meta picks, but you're gonna have to like know which scenarios you beat them in. Anyways, I hope you guys have a Snorlax ready for Go Battle League. You likely already have one for the Kanto Cup, so if you do, that's awesome. If you don't, try to consider using a different mon. There's a lot of things that work in the Kanto Cup. You don't have to use Snorlax. And also, the Shadow and the regular version, there's very specific matchups they flip, so I would take a little, if you were deciding which one to use, I would take a look at the Matrix again and see which one you're comfortable with. Because there is a difference between using Shadow and a regular version, especially in Great League. Anyways, you guys have a great day. Snorlax with Shield is very powerful. However, like I said, it's a little difficult to play, but it's really good for the Kanto Cup. I hope you guys have a Snorlax. If you do have one, you want to use it for this cup, I hope you have a lot of fun with it. I hope this analysis helped you out. Please like and subscribe if you liked the video, and I will see you guys on the next analysis.